My name is Alexis Reed. I'm 29, and the night my parents casually told me my little sister was getting $100,000 for her wedding, and I was getting nothing, I realized just how invisible I'd always been in my own family. It didn't start with a fight. It started with a smug smile. We were at my parents' house, sitting around the kitchen island, when my sister dropped her good news. I'd already chosen my date months earlier, already called my parents to share it, already heard the excited promise that they'd help us out a little. I was supposed to have a simple, small ceremony that still felt special. Instead, she set down her phone, flashed her ring, and said, "We're doing May 20th too. Relax, we'll just do them at different times. Everyone can still make it." Then she called it a coincidence, like she hadn't seen my posts, like she hadn't heard me talk about that date for weeks. My parents didn't even look at me. They started clapping, talking over each other about how fun it would be to have a big family wedding day, how my sister had always dreamed of something grand, how this was her moment. A few days later, my mom called me, voice soft but businesslike, and told me the real plan. They were giving my sister $100,000 for her hotel ballroom wedding, photographer, flowers, the whole fantasy package. My help quietly vanished. My budget became zero. I didn't beg. I didn't scream. I just let the silence sit there while my mom tried to justify it. If they wanted to treat me like I had nothing, fine. I decided I'd show them what nothing could turn into. And when my real wealth finally showed up in front of them, they didn't clap. They just stared. If you think my sister walked away with everything that day, stay with me until the end, because the way this story flips will make you question who was really rich from the beginning. The first thing I did after that phone call was hang up, stare at my screen, and feel this cold, heavy mix of anger and déjà vu settle in my chest. Then I called my fiancé. His name is Noah. While the phone rang, I opened the hotel website my sister had been bragging about and pulled up their calendar. Rows of Saturdays were marked available in big green letters. My date wasn't some magical, once-in-a-lifetime slot. She had options. She just chose mine. When Noah picked up, I didn't even say hello. "They gave her $100,000, I said, for her wedding. Mine is officially the figure-it-out-yourself package." He was quiet for a second, then asked what happened. I told him everything. How my parents had promised to help us a little, how my sister announced she was using the exact same date, how they'd laughed and called it fun and convenient, how my mom had just calmly erased me from the budget like I was a line item they no longer needed. "They said I've always wanted something simple," I added, my voice shaking. "Like that means I don't deserve anything." I expected Noah to tell me to call them back, to demand my share, to threaten to change the date just to avoid the drama. Instead, he sighed and said, "Lex, do you really want to fight them for money they're already telling you you're not worth?" The words stung because they were true. "So what, we just let them win?" I asked. "No," he said. "We stop playing their game. We make the wedding we actually want. Not the one your parents think looks best on Facebook." I sank onto the couch. The idea of letting go of even that small promise of help felt like swallowing glass. "We can keep it small," he went on. "Courthouse or a little ceremony. People who actually care about us. Good food, real vows. No competition, no price tags." "And my family?" I asked. "Your family will either show up because they love you," he said, "or they won't. But at least you'll know the truth." That night, I deleted the Pinterest boards full of centerpieces I couldn't afford and started a new list. Things that actually mattered. A dress I felt like myself in. The friends who'd dance no matter what the venue looked like. A partner who saw value in me without a dollar sign attached. My parents thought they'd cut me down to nothing. What they really did was free me from pretending their version of love was enough. 2 weeks before the wedding, just when I'd finally stopped checking my sister's Instagram to torture myself with her vendor updates, Noah told me his parents wanted to take us to dinner. "They're driving in from out of town," he said. "Just a simple place near our apartment. Nothing fancy." His parents, Robert and Diane, had always seemed like every other middle-class couple in Texas. He'd told me they ran some physical therapy clinics, drove older cars, shopped at Target, brought generic snacks to family get-togethers. The kind of people my parents would have called nice, but nothing special. We met them at a casual Mexican restaurant off the highway, the kind with laminated menus and a neon margarita sign in the window. Robert walked in, wearing faded jeans and a polo that had definitely seen better days. Diane was in a cardigan and sneakers, hair pulled back like she'd just finished a shift. They hugged me, asked about school, asked how I was feeling with the wedding getting close. They didn't mention drama, money, or dates. Halfway through the queso, Diane put her fork down and said, "So we've been talking? We heard there were some complications on your side of things." My stomach tightened. "I don't want you to feel like you need to fix anything," I said quickly. Robert shook his head. "We're not trying to fix your parents," he said. "We just want to help you two have the day you want." Diane smiled. "We have a place out in the hill country we don't use nearly enough. It's quiet, private, and it's already set up for big family gatherings. If you're willing, we'd love to host your reception there. No strings attached." I pictured a modest ranch house with a patchy yard and a grill on the porch. "I don't want to impose," I said. "You're not imposing," Robert replied. "Honestly, it would make us happy to see it full of people." On Saturday, Noah drove us west out of Austin, past the strip malls and gas stations, into rolling hills and open land. When he turned down a long, tree-lined driveway with a stone gate and an iron sign, my brain stalled. The place his parents didn't use enough was an actual estate. The house was huge, but warm-looking, all stone and glass, with wraparound porches and an infinity pool that seemed to spill straight into the hills. Rows of grapevines stretched out behind it like something from a postcard. Caterers could have rolled trucks right up to the outdoor kitchen. "This is your parents' house?" I asked, my voice coming out thin. "One of them," Noah said like he was apologizing. "They started with one clinic, sold part of it to a bigger company years ago, kept some shares. They've been investing ever since. They don't like talking about money, and they really don't like people treating them differently because of it." Inside, the place was beautiful but not flashy. Family photos on the walls, dog toys in a corner. You could tell they lived, not posed, in it. Standing there, I thought about my parents burning through $100,000 just to prove my sister was the star, and about these two people quietly sitting on more than my family could imagine and still asking if I was comfortable. "We can set up long tables here," Diane said, walking us through the back patio. "String lights, a dance floor over that part of the lawn. We know a local band that plays acoustic sets, if you're into that." My eyes stung, and not because of the sun. "Why are you doing this for me?" I asked. Diane squeezed my hand. "Because our son loves you," she said simply, "and you deserve to feel chosen." In that moment, I realized something my parents never had. Money doesn't make people selfish. Insecurity does. And if my family ever found out what nothing had really turned into, their jaws were going to hit the floor. Once we said yes to using the estate, everything started moving fast. Noah's parents connected us with a local caterer and a guy who did string lights and rentals. We cut our guest list down to about 80 people, the ones who had actually shown up for us over the years. "We'll bus them from Austin," Noah said, flipping through options with the planner. "No one has to drive back tired or get lost in the middle of nowhere." It was simple, but it felt intentional. The invitations were the first real test. My sisters were already all over social media, thick, shiny paper. Silver lettering, a photo of her and her fiancé in matching outfits, laughing in front of a hotel fountain. Formal attire, it read. Black tie optional. 300 guests. I held one in my hands and could practically hear my parents bragging as they mailed them out. Ours were the opposite. Clean white cardstock, black ink, subtle. Our names, the date, time, a small sketch of rolling hills at the bottom. Ceremony in Austin at 3 in the afternoon. Reception to follow at a private estate in Texas Hill Country. Transportation provided. No venue name, no price tag, no bragging rights. When my parents saw the mock-up, my mom frowned. "This doesn't say where the reception is," she said. "People are going to ask questions. It looks vague." "It looks like us," I said. "And if they're coming for us, they'll be fine with that." We dropped the invites in the mail and watched the group chat light up as people started getting both sets. One cousin sent a thumbs up to mine. Another posted a photo of my sister's and wrote, "Wow, fancy." My Aunt Karen chimed in, "I might need 2 dresses for that weekend." Then the real cracks started showing. A cousin quietly messaged me screenshots of the seating chart my sister had shared with her friends. Some of my dad's siblings were shoved at a corner table labeled extended, next to plus ones and obligations. Names were misspelled. My cousin Sarah sent me a text. "She stuck us by the bathrooms, Lex. I feel like background noise." Not long after that, my sister called. I could tell from her voice she'd been rehearsing lines in front of a mirror. "Hey," she drawled. "So I saw your invite. You're really doing the whole courthouse thing and then a party at, what, a friend's backyard?" "Something like that," I said. "We're keeping it small." She laughed, high and sharp. "It just feels pandemic chic, you know? Super minimalist because you have to, not because you want to. I know some decorators who could help you elevate it so it doesn't look like a budget potluck." Every word was dipped in sugar and condescension. "We're good," I told her. "We actually like how it's turning out." "Okay," she said, drawing the word out. "Just don't be mad when everyone is too exhausted after our reception to care about a few snacks in someone's yard." I pictured her ballroom with its empty chairs and thought about the vineyard, the view, the long tables we'd set up under the lights. I didn't bother correcting her. Let her think she'd won. Let them all think my wedding would be the forgettable one. Some reveals are better when nobody sees them coming. The morning of May 20th, I woke up before my alarm, staring at the ceiling while the sun barely edged around the blinds. For a second, I forgot it was my wedding day. Then my phone buzzed with a text from Noah. "Today is about us. Nobody else. I'll see you at 3. That grounded me more than any pep talk. There was no glam squad, no 15 bridesmaids in matching robes. One of my closest friends came over with a curling iron and a makeup bag. We put on a playlist, and I did half my own face while she did the parts I knew I'd mess up. It felt normal, human, like I was getting ready for a real life, not a music video. At the courthouse, the air was warm but not brutally hot, the kind of Texas day that reminds you summer is coming. Our 80 guests filtered in, some in dresses they'd worn to other weddings, some in button-downs that had clearly been hanging in closets for years. Nobody was trying to win best dressed. They hugged us, teased Noah, wiped at their eyes when they thought no one was looking. The ceremony was short, but every second was heavy in the best way. We read our own vows, stumbled over a few lines, laughed with everyone when Noah's voice cracked. When the judge pronounced us married and we kissed, the room erupted like there were hundreds of people in it instead of a few dozen. There was no orchestra, no fog machine, no dramatic aisle reveal, just real joy. After photos on the courthouse steps, a small fleet of buses pulled up to take everyone out to the estate. I watched faces through the windows as we turned into the long driveway. People started pointing, then looking at Noah, then at me, like they were checking if this was some kind of prank. When the house came into view, with its stone walls and glass and the hills rolling out behind it, the bus went quiet in that way, where you know everyone is thinking the same thing and nobody wants to be the first to say it out loud. Noah squeezed my hand. "Still want simple?" he whispered. I smiled. "This is simple," I said. Simple doesn't mean cheap. Long wooden tables were set up on the lawn, white tablecloths fluttering in the breeze. String lights crisscrossed overhead, already glowing even though the sun hadn't gone down yet. The caterer had laid out food that smelled like an upscale barbecue joint married a farm-to-table restaurant. A small acoustic band tuned up in the corner, their sound floating out across the vines. People stepped off the buses and just stopped. My Aunt Karen literally said, "Oh my God," under her breath. My cousin Sarah spun in a slow circle, taking it all in. "You said backyard," she whispered to me. "You did not say movie set." My parents walked up last. My dad's eyes darted everywhere, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. My mom's smile was tight, her brain clearly racing as she recalculated everything she thought she knew about Noah's family. My in-laws greeted them like any other guests, offering drinks, asking about the drive, not bragging, not explaining. That made it even worse for my parents. During dinner, someone started posting videos to TikTok, tagging us in soft focus clips of the view, the lights, our first dance. "Small wedding, huge heart," one caption said. "Proof you don't need 300 people to have the best night ever," said another. I caught snippets of conversations around me. "This feels like a retreat, not a wedding factory. I've never been to something this pretty that wasn't trying so hard." People stayed at their tables long after dessert, talking, laughing, swapping stories. The band played covers everyone knew without turning it into karaoke night. Kids ran around barefoot in the grass. At one point, I slipped inside to touch up my lipstick and, out of habit, checked my phone. Pictures from my sister's ceremony were starting to pop up. The ballroom was undeniably beautiful. The flowers were perfect. The lighting was flattering. But there was something off in every frame. Wide shots showed rows of empty chairs. The dance floor looked too big for the number of people on it. Most of the photos people were posting were of the decor, not the couple. One caption read, "Gorgeous wedding, but man, it was kind of stiff." Another said, "Leaving early, my feet hurt and my cheeks hurt from fake smiling." I stared at those posts, then at the reflection of myself in the mirror, hair slightly frizzy from dancing, dress a little wrinkled, cheeks flushed from actual laughing. The comparison wrote itself. Out in the yard, one of Noah's cousins grabbed my hand and pulled me back toward the music. "You look too serious," she said. "Come dance with your husband." I tucked my phone away. For the first time since my sister stole my date and my parents cut my budget to zero, I didn't feel like I was losing. I felt like I'd stepped into a completely different game. My sister could have her giant chandelier and her rented ice sculpture. I had a husband who chose me, a family who opened their home without making it a weapon, and a night that felt like it belonged to us instead of a photographer's portfolio. I thought that would be enough justice. I really did. I didn't realize the real fallout hadn't even started yet. I didn't hear anything from my sister that night. No drunk texts, no snarky comments, nothing. For a few hours, I let myself believe maybe she'd just stay in her world and I'd stay in mine. The illusion lasted until the next morning, when my phone started buzzing nonstop. At first, it was just tags. Friends sending me links to TikToks of our reception, reels of the estate. Comments like, "This is a movie," and "How is this not a brand campaign for Texas?" Then one friend sent a different kind of screenshot. It was a video my sister had reposted to her story. Someone had geotagged the estate and linked an old luxury real estate listing showing its estimated value. The caption under it, "Imagine marrying into this and still making your sister pay for her own wedding, LOL." 10 minutes later, my phone lit up with her name. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. I answered. She didn't bother with hello. "You have got to be kidding me," she snapped. "All this time you let me think you were doing some low-budget picnic while you were hiding a freaking millionaire vineyard from me?" I sat up in bed, the sheet slipping down my shoulder. "It's not my vineyard," I said calmly. "It's Noah's parents' home, and I didn't hide anything from you. I just didn't give you information you were never entitled to." She scoffed. "Do you have any idea how stupid I looked last night? I told everyone, 'Oh, my sister's doing a courthouse thing, super simple, nothing special.' I said it like I was doing you a pity favor by taking the evening time slot. Then people start posting videos from your whatever that was, and my DMs are full of, 'Wow, your sister's reception looks insane,' and 'Damn, girl, thought you said she was broke.' You made me look like a liar." "You did that yourself," I said. "You assumed, and you liked the story where you were on top. That's not my fault." Her voice went shrill. "You could have told me you were marrying into money." The way she said it made my stomach twist. "I'm not marrying into a bank account," I told her. "I'm marrying a person, and if you only care now that you've seen a price tag, that's exactly why I didn't say anything." There was a beat of silence. Then she hissed, "You're so selfish, Alexis. You've always been jealous of me, and now you think you're better because your in-laws are loaded and mine aren't? You blindsided me. You ruined my moment." I felt something inside me finally snap into place. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. "You ruined your own moment when you decided you needed to share my date and my parents' wallet," I said. "I didn't compete with you. I refused to. If that makes you feel small, that's something you need to take to a therapist. Not to me." She started to say something else, but I was done. "I hope someday you understand why this hurts so much, but until then, I need space." I hung up and blocked her number before I could second-guess it. I thought that would be the end of it. Instead, she migrated to the one place she was sure people would listen: the internet. Over the next week, I watched from burner accounts as my sister turned our family drama into content. She posted long, teary story times about cold rich people who wouldn't pay for weddings, about classist in-laws who hosted exclusive parties, carefully omitting the parts where she'd taken my date and my parents' entire savings. She name-dropped neighborhoods, hinted at the clinic brand Noah's parents used to own, and made vague comments about clients who think they're better than you just because they have money, even though those clients were never hers. The problem was, she worked in social media and event marketing. Her bosses followed her. Some clients did too. Screenshots of her rants landed in email inboxes she never intended. Within 2 weeks, she was called into a meeting and let go for being unprofessional and a risk to the brand. The severance was small. The wedding debt was not. Between the over-the-top hotel package, the designer dress, the honeymoon she absolutely did not downgrade when the final quotes came in, and the 100,000 my parents had already burned, she and her new husband were buried under close to $60,000 in leftover bills, interest, and maxed-out cards. The cracks in their relationship widened fast. It's one thing to pose in front of a rented arch and talk about forever. It's another to argue about minimum payments with someone you barely know outside of pretty photos and restaurant dates. 4 months after the wedding, I heard through a cousin that they were separating. 6 months in, the divorce papers were signed. My sister moved back into my parents' house, her influencer-style bedroom now stacked with unopened wedding gifts she couldn't look at without crying. My parents, who had quietly dipped into their retirement to give her that 6-figure wedding, were suddenly staring down credit card balances and a timeline that didn't include relaxing anytime soon. That was when the calls started. Not to apologize. Not at first. My mom called to ask if we could set up a dinner with Noah's parents to talk about potential investment ideas for my dad's business. She left the words real nice people and maybe they'd be interested in helping us grow hanging in the air like bait. I took a breath. No, I said, that's not happening. Alexis, she said, like I was being unreasonable, you're all family now. It's normal to help each other. They've already helped us, I said. They hosted our wedding. They've loved me without conditions. That's where it ends. Their money is not a punishment for you or a prize for you to chase. There was a long pause, then a small, wounded, so you're choosing them over us. I closed my eyes. I'm choosing me, I said, for the first time. And I'm choosing not to let you use my marriage as a lifeboat you only care about now that yours is sinking. After that, I stopped answering most of their calls. I needed distance, and for once, I gave it to myself. My sister's debt was still hers. My parents' choices were still theirs, and the vineyard, the house, the calm, steady love I'd walked into, that was mine. I thought maybe, if enough time passed, they'd forget about the money and remember I was a person. Instead, it took something else entirely to finally crack them open. What finally cracked them open wasn't a big fight. It was time. 4 years passed. In that time, Noah and I built a life that had nothing to do with my parents' expectations. I finished a counseling certification, started seeing more students one-on-one, and threw myself into helping other kids untangle their own family knots. We spent weekends out at the estate, grilling, watching sunsets, letting the quiet wash over us. We had a little boy with Noah's eyes and my stubborn chin, and suddenly my definition of family shrank down to the 3 of us plus 2 people who'd proven they were safe. Somewhere in that stretch of time, my sister disappeared from social media. No more curated brunch photos, no more boss babe captions. The next time I saw her name in my inbox, it was attached to an email with the subject line, "I don't deserve a reply, but I hope you'll read this." It wasn't a rant. It was a confession. She told me about working for a small local company, about clocking in and out, and learning to listen instead of sell. She wrote about therapy sessions where her counselor gently held up a mirror and showed her how being the favorite had twisted her idea of love into something transactional. She admitted she had loved the way our parents worshipped her, and she had believed, truly believed, that she was worth more than me because they treated her that way. She said losing the marriage, the job, and the version of herself she performed online forced her to see how empty that all was. A separate email came from my parents. They didn't ask to meet. They didn't guilt-trip me. They wrote about their own therapist, about sitting in a room while a stranger explained golden child and scapegoat dynamics like it was a textbook. And our family was the example. They wrote about the shame of realizing they'd used money as a way to cover up their own insecurities, that they'd turned love into a contest neither of their daughters could ever really win. "We don't expect you to forgive us," my mom wrote. "We will keep working on ourselves whether you come back or not. But if someday you're willing to sit down for coffee, we would be grateful just to see you happy." It took me weeks to answer. Part of me wanted to stay hard, to keep my anger polished like armor. But I also knew the whole point of therapy and boundaries wasn't to stay bitter. It was to decide, on purpose, who I let near me and on what terms. I started small, a video call where the only rule was no talking about money, weddings, or who was right back then. Then a quick coffee at a crowded Starbucks, where I could leave if I needed to. Then a short visit where they met my son in a park. No overnights, no big family holidays. Every time they slipped into old habits, I called it out. Every time they corrected themselves and tried again, a little more of the tension in my shoulders eased. My sister and I are not best friends now. We may never be. But we talk. We send each other pictures of bad television and good recipes. She never jokes about who got more anymore. She knows exactly how much it cost both of us. If there's anything I've learned from all of this, it's that being born into a family doesn't mean you owe them your peace, your money, or your silence. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to say, "This hurts me and I won't keep pretending it doesn't." Real wealth isn't a vineyard or a fat bank account or a perfect wedding album. It's a life you build where you are chosen for who you are, not what you provide. It's boundaries that protect you, and forgiveness that is given because people have changed, not because you're pressured to be the bigger person. If you've ever been the overlooked kid, the one who got less because someone else shined louder, I hope my story reminds you of this. You don't have to win your family's love to be worthy. You can walk away, build something better, and only open the door when the people on the other side are ready to love you the way you deserve.